The Suns just, I don't know. I don't know what they have left, Wolf. All season long, we haven't known really truly what to make of this team. Here's Stephen A. Smith this morning.
Phoenix seems outmatched, and Kevin Durant got to a point last night where I would never, ever, ever accuse the great Kevin Durant of quitting. But he looked so demoralized, it looked like a finished product. And Frank Vogel, a championship coach, no doubt about it, deserves our respect. No one has ever bragged about him, you know this, offensively. From a schematic perspective, in terms of him being a head coach and how he runs an offense, how potent his offense, nobody has said that about him. You're not beating Minnesota with defense. You're going to have to score.
Yeah, you're going to have to score. And, it is, honestly, I don't know exactly what he's talking about in regard to Kevin Durant, and I didn't think Kevin Durant looked like he quit.
I didn't think that either.
He did not look like he quit.
No.
Okay?
But I will say this, and I think a lot of Suns fans will probably agree with this. If you look at the way the Suns have been eliminated the last few years, and it's most of the guys on the team right now weren't on the team the last few years. So I'm saying this more as a fan. You've gone through this the last 3 years. They lose a game to Milwaukee. They're up 2-0. They never win again. Mm-hmm. Okay, now that series was hard fought down to the very finish.
Yeah.
The next year, though, they're up 2-0 on Dallas. They lose a game. They never look right again. They do win Game 5, but then Game 6, they end up losing by, 27 points, and Game 7 was, we all remember Game 7. They were down They're down by like 80 in the first quarter, it felt like. Once they were like, okay, we can't win, they were just done. And you could almost make that case last year. I thought they obviously fought harder against Denver, but once they fell behind 3-2 in the series, Game 6 was just kind of like, it felt like a formality. It better not feel that way this year. Like, I need to see, it actually does mean something to me that the Suns come back and win some games in the series, even if they don't win the series. I know it's going to be tough. They haven't looked like a team that's going to win 4 of the next 5. I don't want to see this team just check out and be like, well, we can't win the series, so we'll see you later.
Right now, though, this is going to be an interesting test as to what we see in Game 3. A home game, of course, for the Phoenix Suns. They've got 2 games home. They've got to win them both, man. For the most part, you have to look at this. They have to draw the line in the metaphorical sand and say, this is it for us right here. They've got to go out, find a way to win Game 3, obviously, and then do the same thing in Game 4. Just play harder! Well, there you go. All of a sudden,
my phone's going off.
The series is at 2-2, and it's anybody's series once again.
Just fight back, man. Just fight back. Point.
Yeah, fight back.
The last 3 years, once they've started losing, they were just done. It's not like they were like back and forth in the series and then lost the last game. They've ended their season on losing streaks each of the last 3 years.
But once again, this is going to be a great test right here for the Big Three, of course, and the leadership of the Big Three. Because Basinonians, if in fact they lose this series, that Big Three is not going to be back. That's my guess. Yeah. That is my guess. It will not be back next year.
I've heard a lot of people bring that up. I don't know what that looks like yet. You know what I mean?
I don't either.
But I tend to agree, at least with the idea that if they go out in the first round and it's like 4 or 5 games, and I'm Matt Ishbia and I'm spending all this money on this team, and look, we all would have given Grayson Allen the contract, and I know he's hurt in the series. But he has 3 points in the series. And if you're going to bow out in the first round, if I'm Matt Ishbia, I'm not looking around saying, all right, let's run it again next year and see what happens. I'll just how much does it cost? Where's the tax? I'm going to want something to change. If they lose, I'm not saying if they don't win the title. I'm saying if they lose quickly in the first round, which right now they're on track to do.
Yeah, we're going to have to find out, obviously. But, once again, I come back to one simple thought, and it was something that a guy that had coached in the NFL for 27 years, I told you this yesterday, as a matter of fact. This is a professional coach, Basinonians, who's done it for a long, long time. Now, listen, I know he comes from a different era, okay? He does. But he's a guy that has coached a long time, 27 years, almost 3 decades, in the NFL, who said, you know what, I don't like the fact that Suns players, when they're being coached by Frank Vogel and his staff, they don't look at the coaches. And he's talking in particular about the Big Three. They don't look. I would challenge everybody to go ahead and look at that. Is there something you can read into that? For me, when a coach that I respected, when he started talking to me, I'm dead eye, right? Because you respect this guy and you want to be coached by him, and you want to hear what he's got to say to you, and you want to respect him by looking in the eye. Nah, listen, I know that I'm an old school guy, and I'm not going to apologize for it. I'm not going to apologize for it. But it just seems so disrespectful when a coach is telling you something that you're not looking at him and acknowledging what he says. That bothers me, and it bothered him.
You know, there's a lot to that. Maybe we can dive more into that tomorrow on the show, because I would want to look at other teams around the NBA and kind of get a sense of how much of that is just the NBA in 2024. But it doesn't feel like the Suns have a typical hierarchy where everybody's under the coach. It just doesn't. It hasn't really felt that way at all season.
And his quote to me, based on it at the time, was, "I wonder what it's like inside that locker room." Yeah. That was his quote to me. Now, have you heard that before? Yeah.
Been hearing it all season.
Yeah.
With this team. Here's Zach Lowe on NBA Today.
Too many possessions are ending up with their centers flailing at the rim. Their offense so far in this series was 7 points per 100 possessions, worse than the worst offense in the regular season. Some of those possessions, they just look like they met each other yesterday. The big three yesterday, 48 points on 18 of 45 shooting. You can't win against this defense taking 22 threes and 19 free throws. This defense demands your full attention, and the Suns are playing with half attention.
Right.
You know what he said in the middle right there, where it looks like they all just met each other yesterday? That's what their offense looks like. I know Minnesota has one of the best defenses in basketball. Yep. You could argue they have the best. So I get that it's not going to be pretty. Even if the Suns were to win the series, it wasn't going to look pretty. But it goes back to that example I gave earlier. How many times have we seen this season? Here's one player going one way, and here's a Suns player just throwing the ball right out of bounds, or just dribbling off their leg out of bounds, or just things that the other team didn't even force you to do. Just unforced errors and turnovers. Here's Kendrick Perkins on NBA Today.
Devin Booker, we know, one of the most efficient, prolific scorers in the game today. But when you look at him struggling, those tough contested shots, yes, he's going to make some, but he has to find a way to make easier buckets.
Yeah. That would be nice. Find a way to make easier buckets. I'm sure they're trending towards that. I'm sure they're trying to find an answer, right? They're trying to find an answer to that question. I'm sure they're trying to find him easier ways to score the basketball. That much I'm sure of. It's just not working. That's the problem.
38 points total between Kevin Durant and Devin Booker. A year ago against Denver in the playoffs, those guys were each putting up close to 38 points. You know what I mean? Grayson Allen, I know he left early. Grayson Allen has 3 points in this entire series through 2 games. Royce O'Neal, nothing yesterday. So you had Royce O'Neal and Grayson Allen combined for 3 points.
Chemistry matters.
Well, unfortunately, we're seeing that play out, I fear, in front of us. Eric Gordon, decent game off the bench. You know, Wolf, if you look at most of the team stats throughout the game, pretty even, honestly, between the two teams, except that one stat that I brought up, the points off of turnovers. That wasn't an exaggeration for effect. Minnesota scored 31 points off Suns turnovers. The Suns scored 2 off Minnesota's turnovers.
Stunning. It really is right there. And once again, you have 19 turnovers in a game, and that has plagued them all season long as well. But, man, 31 points off those 19 turnovers. That is stunning. And to your point, ball game.
They cleaned up, the rebounding. The Suns were much better rebounding. In fact, they out-rebounded Minnesota last night, which didn't look like that was going to be possible after game 1. The threes were fairly even. The shooting percentage was identical, 44.9%. But, yeah, I mean, when you're minus 29 on points on turnovers, you're going to lose a playoff game.
Thanks for watching Wolf and Luke. Tap to see more and click the button in the middle to subscribe to Arizona Sports.